They say to only bring what you can carry. So with the all-new 2025 Ford Expedition Tremor, bring a lot. Like 3 dirt bikes, a few tents, an entire crew ready to make memories. A panoramic 24-inch display, and the confidence to push your limits. The all-new 2025 Ford Expedition Tremor.
Always consult the owner's manual before off-road driving. Know your terrain and trail difficulty and use appropriate safety gear. Max payload varies based on accessories and vehicle configuration. See label on door jamb for carrying capacity of a specific vehicle. Always properly secure cargo.
Today on CityCast Boise. The phrase, everyone is welcome here, might seem simple, but in Idaho classrooms, it's become a controversial flashpoint. With a new state law, sharply worded guidance from the Attorney General, and opposite reactions from the biggest school districts, we're exploring what this debate reveals about our values and priorities. It's Wednesday, July 23rd. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me today is Sarah Ainama, previously a teacher at the West Ada School District. Thank you so much for being here today, Sarah.
Yeah, happy to be back.
So much has happened since you were last on the show. We got a new law regarding banners and flags that are allowed to fly in schools that went into effect. We also got legal interpretations of that law, plus new district policies and very different responses between West Ada and Boise school districts. What surprised you most about how this has all unfolded?
The AG's op-ed with his guidance about the House bill and my poster specifically was very surprising. There were some parts of his guidance that were inaccurate about my banner and my situation.
Yeah, he definitely took some unique, I'll say the word unique stances in his op-ed. I do want to get into it because I was surprised by a lot of things he said in there too. But just backing up for anybody who might not be familiar, what does House Bill 41, the new law regarding flags and banners in schools, say about what teachers can and can't display in their classrooms?
So the House bill talks about how teachers can't display banners or posters that exhibit a political ideology, a political stance, personal opinion, religious view, so on.
And do you feel like your everyone is welcome here sign would be or wouldn't be allowed under the new law as it's, just in a plain reading of the law?
In the plain reading of the law, this banner that I have, this is not a political ideology. And I will never change my stance about that because it's just not. I bought this from a craft store 4 or 5 years ago. I bought this to do nothing else besides to create a classroom environment that lets my students know that they are unconditionally welcome there and that they should be comfortable, all of them. I work very hard to make sure that my students don't know my political view, they don't know my religious views, and I want them to learn the curriculum that I'm teaching without being persuaded one way or another about how I would feel about certain things. So I understand the intention behind policies and laws like this. But that being said, I also understand as a teacher, somebody that's been in the classroom and somebody that understands the federal laws and the protections of students in our public education, why it's really, really important to make an effort to create a classroom environment, a classroom culture where students feel comfortable enough to be able to learn.
So our Attorney General referenced you putting up a poster before you were a teacher, and then the Idaho Dems selling posters after what had happened with you in West Ada School District. And then he also referenced a story about moms who were wanting an everyone is welcome here or we are all welcoming here message to combat racism in public schools as why this is problematic messaging for our public schools.
Yeah, and it's 3 pieces of not very supportive evidence. I guess I don't really understand why they're so committed to trying to convince people that this message is political. And if he's saying this is a political ideology, a political opinion of just one political party, and I assume he's talking about the Democrats because that's who he referenced in his opinion, then that is to say that that's not an opinion that's also shared by the Republicans. So is he saying that the Republican Party does not believe that every public school student should know that they're welcome in a public school classroom? It seems odd if he's going to label this as a political opinion that's saying that it's only an opinion that's held by one political party. And if it's held by one political party, then the other political party has opposing views of that. I'd like to know if the Republican Party is outwardly going to commit to the opinion that they don't think public school children in Idaho should know that they're welcome here.
Well, and when I've made content about this or posted about this, I have gotten messages or comments that indicate that the person making the comment or the person reacting to my content does feel like messages of inclusion are inherently political. Do you think that there's a difference between affirming someone's humanity and promoting a political ideology? And how would you explain that to a critic?
I mean, I guess I'd have to really ask, how is a sign that's letting students in my classroom know that they're welcome there, no matter what they look like? How is that detrimental or damaging or indoctrinating in a negative way to any student? I'd have to hear their answer because I can't think of a legitimate reason why that would be. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, why do you need a sign like this? I mean, why feel the need to reiterate to students that they're all welcome no matter what they look like? Why is that important? Because it's an issue. I mean, there is no doubt that there is an issue that in public school classrooms, especially here in Idaho, there have been some incidences of hurtful, discriminatory, exclusionary behavior towards students that look different from each other. It just is a visual reminder, a visual cue to what type of environment public schools are or what they're trying to create. It's creating a culture of collaboration and respect between students, peers, teachers, staff. And that's all there is to it.
The AG framed this issue, in his opinion, also as a battle over who gets to shape children's moral development, parents or schools. But as someone who is both a parent and a teacher, how do you feel about that framing?
I mean, of course, parents are in charge of how their children are raised, and they can teach them whatever they want at home. However, if part of that at home learning or in raising that they're doing includes racism or the exclusionary treatment of other people just based on who they are inherently, then that's not allowed in public school. It is my responsibility to make sure that my students are not affected by that. Legally, it's my responsibility. And same with the districts in public schools. We cannot allow one student to make another student feel excluded, harassed, discriminated against for any reason. And so if that's what they're learning at home, they cannot bring that into our classrooms because it's damaging to the learning environment.
This episode of CityCast is sponsored by Babbel. Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? You can start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based technique that quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel, just one of the 12 languages you can learn with it, including Dutch, French, Italian, which is going to be next for me, Turkish, and Russian. I love the interactive dialogues that Babbel has, which allow me to practice what I've learned right away and also the speech recognition function, which makes sure I'm getting the pronunciation just right, which honestly, usually I'm not. Also, I love that Babbel's lessons always cover actual things that I talk about in the real world, like food, talking to people I've just met, and also food. Staying motivated to learn a new language has never been easier thanks to real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations in only 10 to 15 minutes a day on Babbel's mobile app or website. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Amazon One Medical presents Painful Thoughts.
I've been on hold to make a doctor's appointment for 23 minutes now. The automated voice has told me 47 times that my call is very important to them. I'm starting to think that they don't think my call is important at all.
With Amazon One Medical 24/7 virtual care, you'll get help fast without having to remain on the line to make an appointment. Amazon One Medical. Healthcare just got less painful.
Well, and the Department of Education is interpreting House Bill 41, the new law about flags and banners, based on Attorney General Raul Labrador's counsel. And the enforcement standard being used to decide whether a banner, quote, this is directly from the Idaho Department of Education, quote, illustrates or shows someone's opinion, emotions, beliefs, or thoughts regarding politics, economics, society, faith, or religion, end quote. But almost everything in a classroom, from historical quotes to the phrase liberty and justice for all, fit in that definition. Is this actually enforceable in practice, or does it just invite selective enforcement and confusion for students and teachers?
Yeah, I mean, as a history teacher, I love facts. I mean, I'm not teaching about any crazy abstract ideas. I'm teaching about stuff that's already happened. It's factual. And I'm not making any opinions about it. And I'm not guiding my students to make their own opinions about it in any which way. I let them do that on their own. But I mean, this could potentially be used to enforce anything, determining on who's interpreting it. And if a school district or state politicians are saying that welcoming students and being inclusive of the students in our public school is an opinion and shouldn't and can't be allowed to be a message that we produce in our public schools, then they're opening up schools to be susceptible to more discrimination. And I think that's legally neglectful.
So do you feel like this law and the way that it's being interpreted, and so likely will be enforced, is chilling the ability of teachers to connect authentically with students who might not feel like they belong, or chilling teachers' ability to create safe learning environments for those students?
Yeah. I mean, it probably definitely scares a lot of teachers into creating the classroom culture that they've always worked so hard to create. I mean, people that don't work in education might not be able to understand this or might not have thought about this before, but I think everyone can agree on the fact that we really want our students to learn the curriculum that's decided by the state, the materials that are provided. We want them to be successful. I think that's pretty universal. As teachers, we spend 5 days a week, 8 hours a day with these students. And it's not just a knowledge factory. You undoubtedly end up caring about all of them. You realize what is a distraction. What really is a distraction for some of these students. And for some of them, it's that they're hungry, or that their stomach hurts, or that they don't have their materials for class. But sometimes it's that at lunch, someone told them that they hate the hijab that they wear to school, or that their family is a terrorist because they believe this religion. or that they need to go back to where they belong from, or that their skin is ugly, or that their hair is weird. That is a real distraction for students. And so to just preemptively say, this is a place where all of you belong, no matter what. And I want you to know that because I want you to be able to know that you can come in here and feel safe enough to leave those worries at the door and be able to learn about ancient Egypt or whatever it is. They're not going to be able to do that if there's something else going on.
Sarah, Boise School District called your sign a reaffirmation of civil rights law and is actively defending teachers who want to put the "everyone is welcome here" sign in their classrooms, while West Ada called it political and voted to formalize its policy to enforce a ban on "everyone is welcome here" signs. What do you make of these contrasting choices by these school districts, and what message do you think it sends to students, teachers, and families?
It has been detrimental to students for them to see people in positions of authorities that work in their school say that messages like "everyone is welcome here" is just an opinion, and that makes it wrong because not everybody believes that. Kids understand what they're saying by saying that. And I don't know. I feel like this argument has gotten so far away from the fact that the whole point of all of this and the whole point of my sign was for the students. I want them to be successful. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to all feel valued. And I want them to know that they all deserve to hold space. And that's what it's really all about. I really urge people in the West Ada School District, for example, to find a different message. I mean, you could say, all of us belong here. I mean, you could find another message to reinforce to students that they belong there unconditionally. So if it's this specific message, then they should easily be able to find a different one to reiterate the same sentiment to their students.
Well, and since we last spoke, you resigned from teaching at the West Ada School District and were hired in the Boise School District. How did this experience over the past couple of months shape your view of not only where you wanted to teach, but what kind of leadership you need to feel safe and supported in the classroom?
This whole experience and how different school officials have reacted could have been the silver lining to this whole experience for me personally, because I know that I'm working for a school district that really values the well-being and the success of the whole child. And for the school district that I now work for to be supportive of that just really reaffirms that I'm in the right place.
Sarah, your story has lit a fire under a much bigger and ongoing conversation in Idaho, across the state, but especially within the two largest school districts. And it's not just about signs, but about who gets to define what welcome means in public schools and how we make students feel welcome. What do you think people are missing or maybe still don't understand about what's at stake here?
Well, in his op-ed, the Attorney General says, across America, educators have transformed learning spaces into venues for DEI messaging disguised as inclusion. And I find that such a bizarre sentence. I would have never believed that we're at a point where people have different stances on whether diversity, equity, and inclusion is a bad thing in public schools. He's saying we have made our learning spaces venues for diversity, equity, and inclusion disguised as inclusion, which is a weird way to say it, but I love that our public schools are diverse. I love that they're equitable. That's what allows students of all different backgrounds, all different abilities, all different needs to be able to even have a chance at being successful. And I love that we create a culture that's inclusive, that we want our students to work collaboratively, that those are people that turn into adults in society that work collaboratively and cooperatively. And it's It's just very disturbing to see messages of inclusion become politicized and become opinions. And I feel like this whole story and argument and me talking about it might sound like a broken record, but I just think it's a really dangerous cliff that we come to when we allow messages of inclusion, messages of embracing diversity amongst especially our students in public education to become partisan views or political views or just opinions of some people.
Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show again to break this down while we update people about what's going on and how the laws have changed, how the messaging is changing right now leading into the new school year. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Lindsay.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to tell your friends about the show. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a dive into Basque food and culture before High Aldi. You won't want to miss it.